What's up, book besties? Welcome to another episode of She's All Books, where we dive into the raddest reads that will totally blow your mind. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's chat all things books. Because life's too short for boring stories. Ready? Let's get this book party started. Hey, book besties! Tonight we are having a literary sleepover with the queen of RomTraum herself, the accidental author who deliberately broke all of our jaws. Diana Elliott Graham, her debut album, When We Were, had readers drop their Kindles as well in shock and questioning everything they thought they knew about love, memory, and closure. Welcome to the show, Diana.
Oh my God, thank you so much. What an intro.
I really am not gonna lie, I worked on that for an hour.
You nailed it.
Thank you. I feel like do you watch Bravo at all? Are you a Bravo fan?
No, I'm not, but not in like a prideful way, but just I'm terrified that if I get into Bravo, I will get too into Bravo. And that's my problem. That's why I'm not.
I think you have it, but I totally can understand that. Well, there is a show on Bravo that is called Watch What Happens Live, and Andy Cohen does it in interviews Bravo people and other celebrities. And as I was prepping for tonight, I realized that there's certain words that I say so many times when I'm prepping for our interview, and the RomTraum was one of them. And he does this game where it's you count how many times you say a word, and that's how many shots you have to take, which I was we'd be dead. So good thing I play on my pod, but that was one of them. And at the end of the show, we kind of guessed what the other most frequently used words were. I repeat
it. It sounds like a fun thing. I do sometimes that at work with different meetings and corporate buzzwords.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just keeping notes by myself though. No one else is playing.
Motivated and influence. All those all right. So a little bit about this book. If anyone in the audience is watching this episode and has not read When Were, which is going to be my tongue twister tonight, crazy, because it is the most talked about book on my podcast, and I think somehow I have mentioned and worked in this book and Diana Elliott Graham probably in 80% of my episodes, and I don't know how it happens. It just happens usually within the first 10 minutes. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but maybe my therapist could deep dive further into that one. But this book is so unique, and I'm gonna really, really try hard not to do any spoilers during this episode. So I will try my best. But one thing that I do want to point out is that it is a dual timeline. So there's flashback to when our main female character, Arden, is in college and present day time. And so I was just chatting with Diana before we started recording, and Arden was a freshman in college in 2007, and I was too. So I asked Diana if she was, and we're the same age. So it's probably part of the reason why I feel so connected to Arden, in addition to other things that Arden experiences. But I wore my college sweatshirt today just because it felt right.
You have to have the college spirit
during this literary sleepover. But one of the beautiful things about it is it is so nostalgic. Everyone knows I love nostalgia. And Diana was able to incorporate so many pieces of nostalgia in that book. So for those audience members who have not read your book yet, Diana, is there anything you can tell them overview wise about When We Were before we really dive into the questions and get deep into it? Just a high overview.
Okay. Sure. I mean, I think it definitely appeals to people in this age group and women in general, because it deals a lot with questioning that first love, what you consider your first love, and looking back on that and how you kind of sometimes look at it through rose-colored glasses and what would you have done differently? Do things end the way they're meant to at the time they're meant to? And what do you do if you are potentially given a second chance at that? And so, like you mentioned, the book follows Arden, who it's dual timeline, and she texts her ex-boyfriend, which let's just call out immediately is a wild thing to do, and asks him about when they broke up. And he comes back at her and says, well, I didn't dump you. She'd spent all this time thinking, and you're thrown kind of back into that story in a way that you talk about, full of nostalgia, full of her freshman year. you see her fall in love, and you see the breakup, and then you understand why it all plays out the way it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna say it like 100 times. I cannot believe this is a debut book. Like I
Oh
cannot.
my
And I was reading through a lot of like other people's reviews, like prepping for this episode because I was like, let me just not make it all about what I think. Common theme. Like that is a common theme that a lot of readers put in their comments and their reviews is they were just like shocked that this is a debut novel.
God.
It's just so unique, so incredibly talented you are. So,
I'll be honest, it shocked me too. Like, it's one of those things, and I talk about it a little bit, and it wasn't something I really had planned to do or really intended to do, and it just kind of happened. And so, um, the response has been incredible. Like, it's been phenomenal. People like yourself who just seem to love it so, so much. And the fact that this is a debut makes it so much more special. Like, very much like your first love. Like, do you ever love any, like, it's just a very unique type of love.
it is such a unique type of love. I can't imagine. Like I kind of put myself in your shoes. That would be so cool to experience.
Very cool.
I have to also admit that I slid right into Diana's DMs as I was reading the book. And it was just like this thing where I was like, I have to do this. Like, she doesn't know who I am. And I'm literally trying to find her on Instagram. And I did. I slid right in as I was reading. And through the book, I kind of kept popping in and telling you, because I read it pretty quickly. I couldn't
Yeah.
stop. I let go of all responsibilities for this
Good.
book. And
Okay.
so I I kept like responding to certain parts of the book. And I just remember you being like, Paige, do you happen to be
Yeah.
because I think you were waiting for me to get to specific parts to see my
There are
reaction.
there are definitely spots in, like, I mean, I know we're trying to make this very spoiler free, so we will stick with this. We don't want
Yeah.
spoiler free, but there are definitely parts that, like, if you make it past certain points and still have certain points of view, like, it's been very interesting to watch how people respond to things after that.
Yeah.
And so, like, the emotional buildup to certain scenes is incredible to watch, particularly if you're committed in a certain way. When the rug kind of gets ripped out from under you, I love when people slide in my DMs. Truly, it is so special to me. I love it so much, and I respond to everything I can possibly see, which sounds like I get like insane amounts. I don't, but I do get every so often I get unsolicited like sobbing photos that I'm like tagged in, and that's like my favorite thing.
Because you are the RomTraum Queen. And this isn't really a spoiler. If anything, I think this should make people who haven't read it more intrigued. But it's a great litmus test for red flags. And so if you are like, yeah, you might think you're solid on your red flags. You might not be like I was. And yeah. There's like,
And there are a couple versions of it, and like if you reread it, you
yes,
look back and you're like, maybe a lot of this is red flag. Maybe there's a lot more to it that's red flags than it should have been. And um, if you do go back
yeah,
and reread, you see the language because it's written in dual timeline. She's retelling these stories, and the language around these people is meant to highlight exactly what she experienced with them. So it's a
it's
I'm going to be really honest. This is the first podcast I've done where we're not outright naming names, so I'm trying very careful
we
to
might
not
get
be.
to that point. I'm not sure. I tried so carefully to write this because I luckily have had so many audience members immediately go and get books right after watching this. And I'm trying so hard to respect that for this because then they're always like messaging me
Yeah,
after they read the book. So like I'm trying my best. But if at any point we do start to do a
yeah,
spoiler alert, I'm gonna throw it
alert.
in the
Yeah,
editing process and make sure that everybody knows like spoiler alert. Fast forward until this like word
yeah,
goes on the screen or whatever it is, or fast forward to this time if you're listening
yeah,
to it. We'll make sure that we can keep it so it's still going to be enjoyable and hopefully not spoil anything for readers. But this book is just crafted so like, and it's just so unique that it's hard to talk without spoiling.
yeah.
Maybe the whole like suspense piece that you are being so elusive that you're like, you'll
You're like,
figure, yeah, right. But it's happening.
yeah.
Um, well, I made a brand new future fortune teller for you today.
I'm so excited.
So she's stiff. Like this is brand new. Other one's pretty cool. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there's 8 numbers on this paper fortune teller, and there's way more than 8 questions that I have for you for this interview. So we're gonna play for the nostalgia piece of it, but
We're gonna
it's
lightning round it. We'll get through as many as we can.
like so
Wonderful.
full disclosure, this is going to be not your traditional, in many ways, version of paper fortune teller. So, did you call this a cootie catcher or a paper fortune teller? Diana.
What was the first thing you said?
Paper fortune teller or cootie catcher?
Cookie catcher, 100%. Yeah.
I I did not. I was a paper fortune teller. I'm learning it's a regional thing, like from like what areas of like the country you're from, or if you're in Canada, everyone calls it a cootie catcher. Apparently,
I'm not Indian, so I have no idea, but that's really interesting. And it was funny because that's always what I called it. We actually made these when I got married. Now, like, this is like when we got married, we made these and like had them as like things out with like handkerchiefs and things. Anyway,
obsessed, obsessed.
I just needed to be sure that you didn't say cootie catcher. With positive.
Cootie catcher, which is like a new to me term. Brought this with me to like Readers Take Denver, not this one, obviously. And at the very first, I was like, I was in the shower in the morning, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring a paper fortune teller, and I'm gonna use that. So that's what I do on my podcast. There's one question at each side because everyone's busy. Like one quick question as they send my book, if they'll do it. Like I don't know. Like it just like I don't. It just popped in my head that morning. And the first author I went to was author Daisy Jane. And I was like, will you do paper fortune teller like one question with me? And she was like, yes. Cootie catcher.
What a term for it, though. We could have just like what a name for it.
It sounds like that's the other thing is people who call it that, what you call it, they tell me they used it differently than I used it growing up. So like we always did like ask it questions like yes, no, maybe. So it was like a paper fortune teller.
Yeah.
But is that how you used it?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
I mean,
Same age, same like.
I'm just gonna pretend I'm you. Okay. So if you're new to this and if you weren't the same age range as us and have never seen one of these, which is unlikely, this is just a fun paper foldy thing that we used how I just described it. And so on the outside, it's hard to see on my camera for some reason until this is published, but it's pink, purple, orange, or green are the color options. And then on the inside, I'll tell you each time, you don't have to memorize anything. On the inside are the numbers just for the people who I'm educating, 1 through 8. And each of those questions correspond with a question. Each of those numbers correspond with a question that I have for Diana. I clearly shouldn't be giving Millennial 101.
No, I think you're doing a great job.
So you think I've done that enough and I should have like down. All right. So are you down for a round? Awesome. I'm so excited. So orange, green, pink, or purple?
We're gonna go with purple.
Purple. All right.
Yes.
PURPLE. 2, 3, 6, or 7.
Go with 7.
Let's go with 7. I've got a whole bunch of questions for you, so pick whatever you want.
You're like,
yeah. Question number 7 is kind of like an icebreaker question. And this question came up so many times in the question box that I posted on Instagram. And I think it even popped up in the one that you posted as well. And that is, first of all, tell the audience how many times you went to the Taylor Swift Eras.
I went for a third time this past weekend in Miami. I went once in Paris, and then I went once in Tampa. So I've been 3 times. And I don't want to say my Eras era is over because that would be so depressing, but I have no more tickets. So
I would be trying to figure out whatever I could do to get
I'm
one.
I would love to figure out how to do it again. Like I'm so committed. I've still got the nail polish on. I'm still wearing the friendship bracelets. I am not ready to like be back at work fully and
I watched I never scroll past the TikTok of somebody up there.
I never scroll past the TikTok, and I literally have all the videos in my phone. Like I have that, and I'm watching these TikToks like I've never seen it before. It's so good.
Weren't you even like on the floor at the
floor in Paris? It's so good. So good. Yeah.
Funny quick story. I feel like I'm gonna have a bunch of like random like sidebars about this whole conversation. So sorry. But speaking of Taylor Swift, speaking of being a freshman in 2007, I saw Taylor Swift at my college. In 2007, she came right before our fall break and did a concert in the smallest little gymnasium, like auditorium thing. And it was literally her guitar, and like 2 or 3 bandmates, and then I got a picture with her right after the concert, and I mean, we're talking like the
That's
curly
amazing. Yeah.
kind of posted up here, but that was in 2007. It was like a free concert at my college, and I just remember being like, "I'm gonna go see Tay Tay," and like thinking it was like so cool.
Incredible.
No obvious idea what that would
People
create.
couldn't even know, like, even a few years ago, there was nothing like what's happening now, like the Eras Tour is phenomenal. There's nothing like it.
There's just it's amazing, and it's so exciting to see, like, as a woman who's, like, her age and, like, just seeing, like, the amount of
Yeah.
amazing stuff she's doing is so exciting. So, all right, the sub-question to that, and this is the part that actually a lot of people were asking, not that first part. The
Sure.
sub-question is, what is your favorite Taylor Swift era?
My favorite era, it changes. It constantly changes. So, like, if we're talking like my favorite actual era, like the one I want to like put on clothes for, and like that I put on the albums I put on most, it's probably Reputation.
Me too. That is my
That was,
number.
that's probably my number one. But like, I'm so into Tortured Poets. Like, it's just so good
Yeah.
that right now
Yeah.
I'm really on Poets High, and like seeing Tortured Poets performed, seeing Florence perform Florida in Florida as a Floridian was
Okay.
just like a level of like something like some self-actualization I was not prepared to experience. And so like I'm really loving Tortured Poets. Um
So
my
good.
my husband's favorite album is Fearless. And so like
Yeah.
Fearless is on here also.
Yes.
There's a Taylor Swift household. Like
Love that. That's a very good, solid foundation of a household.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it's probably Reputation is my favorite.
same. That's my go-to. For me, it would be Reputation and then 1989. But whenever she releases like a new one, like Midnights
Yeah.
or
That's what I'm
Trigger
saying.
to It, I'm like
Yeah.
in it. Like I'm
Yeah.
in it. Like those are my
Go
go-to.
back to your classic.
Yeah.
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 For sure. Speak Now, I did the like where you rate them all, and like you rate per song and then average and like do the calculation on it. Speak Now I like a lot more than I think I ever gave it credit for.
Yes, I bet. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Speak Now is also great.
So, I mean, and the
Awesome.
best part about it, and I never really thought about it in an era's way,
Yeah.
like before until this tour, but each of those albums can kind of relate to different parts of like your life. It doesn't have to be like right
100%.
here. It's just so the smallest man who ever lived right now would probably be like number like I just would do anything to see that in live.
It's insane.
Did she premiere that in Paris or no?
So when we were going to Paris, we were the last night in Paris. Went to night 4, I think it was. And so we did not know what was going to happen in Paris. And then
Right.
suddenly we saw that she like debuted this whole new set, and we're like, this is amazing. So it was in Paris.
Yeah.
So like saw it the first time in Tampa, and it was just a standard set. Then we saw Paris with Tortured Poets, and
Yeah.
then recently we saw like with Florence, which was
You got to
insane.
see the new Reputation.
And I got to see the new Reputation outfit.
Did you
I got a Karma guy on the Chiefs in Paris. We've got the surprise songs have been amazing. I got Aaron Dessner come out once. I have checked every Eras box.
You were very
So lucky. I'm very lucky.
and it's all because of this amazing karma you put out there with one.
Oh,
And
you know what? I appreciate that. I think we have very good Taylor Swift luck.
yeah,
You know, in the
that's like
Ticketmaster wars. In the Ticketmaster wars, somehow we have survived them.
I was lucky one time with Adele concerts. So that was it, and I was really thinking I would be lucky with Taylor Swift, and I was not. But I think about a lot of the songs, like Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, and I can plug them into certain chunks of when we
Right.
and
You
it's
some?
always fun to think. Yes.
There's someone on Instagram, her name is Amber.
Yeah.
She did a whole like Taylor Swift playlist and like annotated guide of when we were, and like she ordered it all that way. I think it's still linked in my bio. And that was incredible. right? And like just how she kind of like lined it up and like drew parallels. It was amazing.
That is amazing, and I feel like I follow her because of you. Like, I found her through you, and I also happened to scroll upon her review for when I was doing my prep work, so I'll have to, like, tag her and, captions to this episode because I know she is the expert when it comes to, like, when we were and some of these tracks.
She's definitely one of them. Isabella I think she wrote literally 2 college papers on it, which was another like crazy thing that happened. Isabella has a lot of theories, and I call her the like official subject matter expert. She is the one that you should go to if you are curious about any of the theories that may or may not be true.
I love it. I want to hear all of her theories. If you're watching, drop your favorite theory and in the comments because I want to hear it. Um, that is amazing. And I have a bunch of questions kind of similar related to that. So I'll probably tangent to this as we go with the questions because I really want, and you can start thinking about it now, but I really want to and feel, get a sense of how it feels like as an author to get that type of like,
Response.
again, yes, love it. I can't wait. We're gonna have a therapy session on that. Okay. So pink, green, orange, or purple. Let's go with pink. I'm gonna warm you up with these questions.
Right. What?
Pink
Yeah.
and get you feeling comfortable. Three,
Yeah.
6, or no. Yes, 3, 4, 6, or 2, because you already answered
I already answered 7. Let's go with 4.
4. All right. Okay. As the self-proclaimed accidental author, what was that just keep writing mentality like when crafting when we were?
Yeah. It's heavily reliant on the people around you.
Mhm.
And I'm very lucky to have friends and family the people who I told I was writing a book were very supportive. And the rest of it, you really treat like a habit. And so, like, I started writing this book without really knowing if I was going to actually publish it or what I was going to do next. But like with anything, if you want to run a marathon, you start going to the gym or you start running and you start,
Right.
a half a mile, a full mile, a 5K, and you kind of get into that groove. And it was so much like treating it like a habit of just like going to the gym every day or doing something every day.
Right.
That's how ultimately get to the end of it. And then it's not easy, right? Like there are days that you're like, this is garbage. Like, what have I done? What have I written? But the best thing I ever heard was that you can edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank one. And so literally just keep going and clean it up when you're done because you feel good when you get to the other side of it. And so it wasn't always easy, but
And that's good advice about the editing of pages. That's true. And that's something that like you can't get better at a marathon if you're not gonna get out there and like try to run.
you can't run a mile, you're not going to run a marathon.
Exactly.
And like it's amazing how quickly it comes together where suddenly you're like, oh, I've written a whole book. It's not hard to get to a shitty first draft. It's hard to motivate yourself sometimes to get to the shitty
Yeah.
first draft.
I'd imagine. So I think it would be hard for, and then you have like not you. People struggle sometimes with the imposter syndrome and stuff.
Yeah, me. What do you mean me? What do you mean not me?
That
See,
you're like, and you have imposter syndrome. No, like, that's
every single day. That's me every single day in all aspects of my life. I think that is the curse of the millennial woman, in fact.
it's all us. Yeah, yeah.
Like I'll tell you, it's the millennial woman that has it. No, I have that for sure.
And that's
Constantly.
gotta be hard to push through, but I mean, it's look how amazing it is. So yeah,
Oh, thank you.
through our imposter syndrome, we gotta look at why are we like
No, I don't know.
probably for many reasons.
I'm gonna say probably men
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my guess, but
I'm gonna go with that too. Yeah, I think people are would say the same thing.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. As I was just about to start like drilling you with questions, I forgot this part. Purple, green, or orange?
We're just gonna continue around, so we'll go with orange.
Right. ORANGE. Oh, we have a new set of numbers.
Wonderful.
What did I do when I was taking this paper fortune teller? 1, 4, 5, or 8. What did I do?
I'm now also confused.
Okay. Oh, I just figured out what I did. Okay. 1, 4, 5, or 8. I'll explain it later.
We'll go with 1.
1. Okay, great. Oh, I'm just gonna really mess myself up today. Okay, question. So for those who haven't read this book yet, there's a lot of coffee shop scenes in this book and in both timelines. So like there's shop scenes in 2007. There's coffee shop scenes in the present day with Arden, and they felt so authentic. Like I could like, I don't know, it just felt like the chats she was having, the experiences she was having at the coffee shop, like in both timelines, were very authentic. So, first question, and this comes from oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I'll pull it up, but it was submitted from on Bookstagram, and that is, what is your go-to coffee shop order?
Okay.
And what it was in college. So it's like a two-parter. What is your current, and what was your college order?
Yeah, it has barely changed. But it is also in the book. It is a vanilla almond milk latte.
Ooh.
That's pretty much it. Usually always hot. Like I always try to have a hot coffee in the morning and then I'll switch to ice, but it's always like a vanilla almond milk latte. And in college I did like all of the non-dairy milks were like newer. So like we had just gotten like the almond milk explosion. And so I went from like a soy to an almond, and like that was a big deal for me. Like that was a big life change, was when I went from soy milk to almond milk in a latte. Yeah, it's been, my coffee order has been a vanilla almond milk latte as long as I've been drinking coffee, pretty much.
And that was Arden's order.
It was. Yeah, it was, in fact. Yes.
Because I remember going and ordering after I read it. Okay, so I'm a stalker.
No, no.
And I was like, I gotta taste this. Like this has to be amazing. It's gotta be great. It was really good. Yeah.
It's a good solid, like, you always know what you're gonna get.
Yes.
You can order
Yeah,
from most coffee shop ever, and it's
it's a
standard.
good like safe order that you're
You
gonna
order.
yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So next question.
We're going with green.
Green.
We're gonna do them all.
Doesn't matter because I have a whole bunch of questions for you. I like usually it's like actually very precise with like what ones you answer. I'm literally going through a list. All right.
Wonderful.
REEN 3, 6, 7, or 2?
I'll go with 3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 3. All right. To our friend Taylor Swift.
Oh, amazing. This is really what I want to talk about.
We're tied into when we were, trust me. Since you are a Taylor Swift connoisseur now, which Taylor Swift era would you use to describe Arden in 2007? And if you can't answer, not about book number 2, which we haven't even got get into right now, but
No
like
problem.
when we were the 2007 Arden and the present day Arden in that timeline. Can you pick
Really? Yes, I think so. So I think 2007 is very like new romantics, where you're just like with your friends, you're having a good time, you're like, you know, you're like young and like living your life. So that'd be the 1989.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'd say like present day, I think she gets into the like folklore evermore vibes, in part because she gets very like introspective, and you see her kind of like grapple with some of these things, and like the
Yeah.
wand is obviously feels like it could have some like meaning there. But also I really think she's in like her lover era. She clearly has like love
There's a lot
in
of love.
her.
Yes,
She's got
exactly.
a lot of love.
Yeah.
I too am now catching my words based on spoilers, but like she's modern art, and like I think she's in a lover era.
Okay, got it. That's perfect. That is exciting. I love it. And now I will be listening to those.
Thank you. Like I feel like it's like a horoscope kind of answer, where I'm like, she's lover with a cardigan moon rising or something like that. Like it's
Even like when you think, because I was thinking about how hard that question was, thinking about her in the 2007 Arden like part, because that like her freshman year when you're flashing back to it was probably many different eras.
so many. Like it feels very, debut in some ways, because you're
Yes.
so raw on it. And then
Right.
she really is just there to like have fun and like go out and like learn, and do you have an answer?
No, actually, I was like, waiting for your answer. I was thinking about it a lot earlier, and I was like, but for me, it was so hard. I was thinking about specific parts of the
Yeah.
book. I couldn't really think of it holistically as like this time period, that time period. I was too focused on specific events that happened and songs that I would connect to those events. That I was struggling with this. I was excited to see your answer to that. It's an easy one to answer.
No, it's not easy at
No,
all.
Yeah. And I haven't mentioned to the audience yet, but there is going to be a book number 2, and it's called Six Morning Kisses. We don't have much info on that yet, we being me and all of the
Oh,
other readers. And Diana is probably close to having to like take out restraining orders against but
mm,
there's very little to be known, but the cover has been revealed.
mhm.
And if you follow Diana, which you should, on Instagram, she does occasionally let us get peeks to make us leave her alone a little bit. So, um, if you're really a true fan after reading When We Were, which you better be, you will go to the cover that she's released of book 2 and you'll look for the different, like,
Yeah.
Easter things than the second.
It's a fun game, and I think for me, like, I wanted to be sure that once you read the book, you can go back and, like, find all those parts in it,
Yes.
and much like When We Were, I wanted to make sure that, "No, you know what? I'll leave that aside.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna finish that sentence."
Well, I'll also just say, when I read When We Were, it was a different cover.
Yeah.
I would order the day after I finished it 'cause I read it on Kindle, which literally I did drop. That was not a lot. And I went to order the book the very next day after I finished it, and it was old cover. Then, like 2 or 3 days later, I got an email from Amazon saying my order had been canceled. What? That's
Funny.
so weird. Then it was like it was the new cover. I think they were like, and I just happened to catch it on like the weirdest like
That's
transition in
so
for Amazon.
funny.
So they canceled it. So then I had to replace it, and it was the new cover. So I was like, ooh, and I got to examine all of the fun things.
It was I think the first cover, like, so much happened when I first released it, and I still don't know what I'm doing, but I didn't know what I was doing, and, like, I mean, it's not really a secret that I use a pen name, and so, like, I signed my full name in the back of some of those original books. Like, literally, it was in the acknowledgments, like, my full legal name, and I was like, "Why would I do that? That's a wild choice to make." And, like, the photo that was on the cover, that was me in college. Like, it's still in the back of this book, but, like, that was me. Those photos were me. And I'm like, "What is wrong with you? You've really made them."
Yeah, that's so well.
Like, and so that was one part of it, and then the rest was, like, there's so many small parts of this book that I find so meaningful that I felt you didn't get any representation of in the original cover, and so I wanted to have something that really represented, like, all the small parts of falling in love with someone, and then what that kind of looked like, and so that's the new one.
I love it. I love it. I think it's beautiful, and I cannot
Oh,
wait for the 6 morning kisses to be right beside it.
yeah, they
'Cause
look very cute together.
I know. I mean, I look at the pictures,
Yeah,
so I
I
just
know. Yeah.
I can't wait though. I can't wait for that. All right, pink, green, orange, or purple? Which
Okay. Oh,
are you going to do? I know you haven't placed a date yet, and I'm gonna ask you when
that's
because
fine.
I know that answer is gonna be a
Yeah.
heck. But are
Yeah.
you gonna do like a Taylor Swift like Easter egg on the date release for all of us? Like, are we supposed to be like looking in that deep to like what you're saying and doing, or can you not even answer that?
So what's very funny.
Starting to think that you're not gonna give us a date, and we're gonna have to just like start to figure it out on our own.
So
You can if you need to table that.
no, I don't need to table it. It's funny. Isabella,
Yes.
again, is like the master of this situation. I had posted something that had a date visibly in it, and I don't think anyone got it, and I took it down because it was like I like archived the post because I was like, I didn't like the way it like flowed or whatever. So I've certainly done it. Unsure if I will again.
Hi.
Yeah.
Dang. All right. I'll
Sometimes just to keep myself accountable, and I love like a game of a thing.
yeah.
It's not meant to torture anybody besides myself.
It's a good torture though. Some of us like
Thank
to
you.
fast, so
Good to know.
it's fun. It makes it even more exciting. But I am dying to know. Okay. Pink, green, orange, or purple?
Okay, let's go back to orange.
Orange. All right. So RANGE 2 or so. This is
Let's
left.
go with two.
All right. Question number 2. Okay, so we have a lot of different characters, and when we were,
Yep.
we have Arden, we have
Mhm.
2 main male characters ish, and
No.
then we have a bunch of side fun like friend characters. And which characters and when we were the easiest, or maybe it's just one, easiest to write, and which character was the hardest to write or most challenging?
So I think some of the easiest characters were like Ethan. Like when you say we have a lot of like side-ish characters, like Ethan was a very easy character to write because he was really like there for a good time and
Yeah.
like he kind of just a positive, like supportive, like there involved kind of friend. And there was probably more depth to him that she even kind of acknowledges throughout the book than maybe she gave him credit for. Like in general, their relationship was fairly superficial, and so he was both enjoyable to write because of how he navigated his world, but also a little bit simpler. Your three main characters. So, your two male main characters. I mean, we can name them, I suppose.
Sure. Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely, yes.
Well, I could like
Yeah.
say
So I should also just preface this for the audience. I'm doing a horrible job at like all the little prefacing things because I'm like, you have to know what I know. It's like love triangle-ish. Like there's a female main character arc, and then you have your two female characters. And it's fun to get to the end to figure out who
what.
she yeah, what's happening, what's going on, and how she's feeling at different points throughout both of those relationships. So
Yeah.
I just did a little bit better with that.
So I think no, you're doing great. I think Josh was absolutely one of the most complex characters, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I'm going to say a thing that is a bit of a hot take. He and Arden actually have a lot in common. And like, we don't always want to believe that.
Right.
But one of their like reasons that they became friends and like, he was, he, people often say, people will be like, when they're reading this, like friends to lovers, like, is that a trope?
Right.
And so I think they have a lot of similarities in a complex way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how they exhibit them are just very different. But yeah, I think he was one of the harder ones to write. And like in general, like it was really the dynamics of them all
Yeah.
that made it complicated.
I think so too. And when you talk about tropes, like if the tropes that I tell people about with this book, so that I don't sway in a certain
Yeah,
direction, like I always am like, there's this communication trope.
we call that out immediately. Like we break the fourth wall in the miscommunication.
And
Yeah,
let me go ahead and tell you, like, I love the red flag tropes. So, like, communication, second chance romance, like, surprise pregnancy, like, all of those are like the ones that are like hot topic tropes.
that's the ones that people hate, the debatable topics. You're like, give sign me up.
I'm
And you
like,
read,
me, like, and then there's like, oh, I don't have a lot of people signing up for this, like, miscommunication book. I'm like, I would love it. I could be a fave. Yeah. But, so that, like, the miscommunication trope is like your main overarching
yeah,
trope. And then a new trope is called RomTraum. And that is
new one.
really a good way to describe this book. There is just such a complex element to it as far as I'm
Well, we're
shocked that you're not like a psychologist with how you wrote some of this because it does like dive into the complexity of
just
being fluent.
traumatized by college is
Yeah,
like most women. No, I think the relationships are complex. Like
right,
their relationships are very complicated, particularly when you're younger and you don't fully understand the
right.
dynamics that you're committing to. And like, you know, both of the men in this book should absolutely have red flags attached to them.
Yes. Yeah.
They absolutely should for different reasons.
As
And
do most men or
That's
guys.
m
Like, yeah,
every man that exists. And I think the thing is because we're so used to romance books where you just read them and you're like, the red flag always justifies the end. The means always justify the end with red flags, and that's just not true.
yeah,
And so, like, once we get to those it's like chapter 47, that whole situation that kind of plays out between two of them, you're like, it's gonna work. This part is gonna work out differently because
yeah,
they love each other, obviously. It'd be because they love each other, obviously. And it's just doesn't roll that way. Like that's not the truth of it. Yeah. The over justification, like the allowances we make, I think sometimes in books, like the murder is the type of red flag in a book that we like see it, we're like, we're here for it. We're here for the mafia romance and all that. But some of the red flags in this book should not be overlooked. Like these are different vibes.
yeah. Vibes. These are different red flags. These are very imperfect,
Yeah.
perfect imperfect characters, what I like to say. They're perfectly imperfect. Like they are so relatable. They're not gonna be like your, billionaire, da da da, and
Yeah.
like so perfect and all those things. Like these are
Well,
very
she's so
just
Arden is so
yeah,
messy, and
yeah.
she does not acknowledge it at all. She thinks she's got her shit together, and she doesn't, and, like, not at all.
Yeah. So like there's so many like in college, I hope I have my shit more together that aren't in now, but there's so many of us who can relate to that because it was
Yeah.
very realistic to the maturity levels and like some of the things that were common in college. And then the things that she's reflecting back on in the present time are very relatable to some of the things that we probably think
Yeah.
about like, and present. I can't speak for people. I'm assuming a lot of us
Yeah.
have similar like wonderings and thoughts about reflecting back on previous relationships and experiences.
And social media makes it all too available, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
literally, you get messages of, like, "Do you know this person?" And you're like, "Not for years. I don't. Like, I
No.
don't know them anymore.
Right.
They don't know me. Please don't
Exactly.
show me."
How like I always say, like, don't connect my phone to like the
Me too.
content and whatever. Like, don't do it. And I still won't. They'll still say, so and so you might know is on. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop
I know.
it. Uh,
I'm like, "I don't want to, though," is the
no.
thing.
Curse of having like the same number.
Yeah, I know, same. But it gives you this accessibility to people that, like, knew you at a different point in your life, which is beautiful, but also terrifying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the self-reflection is dangerous. Like, not the self-reflection. That level of reflection can be dangerous.
So I'm gonna sneak in an extra question. Which like part of like Auden's inner monologue or Arden as like a character was more difficult to write, like the 2007 Arden or like the present day Arden? Like which one was more like challenging?
Oh, it's really good. No, I think it really depended on the part of the book. Like, at different times, different parts were much, much harder. I think writing 2007 in a way that was both honest, but also, like, not overly critical, right,
Right.
was hard. Because,
Mhm.
like, you look back on the early 2000s and you're like, "This was a mess." Like, this was like, this was wild. This was a wild time. Like, and the things that we believed to be true or believed to be acceptable are just different now. And so writing some of that and her inner monologue at that point was tough because, like, you're doing that from a different place of wisdom, and to, like, remove that was difficult. Whereas in the modern day, she had a sense of self-reflection that I don't entirely carry the same burden of. Like, she was burdened by some of it, and I am not.
Right. Right. No.
Not certainly not to that degree.
No. Absolutely. I could see that for sure. That same, but I could relate to the wondering piece of it, but
Oh,
not
you
the
wonder.
part of
Of
like
course you do. A
yeah.
1,000%. Like, if nothing else, just because I'm nosy. Like, just wanna know what's. But, yeah, it's a both were complicated and hard for very different reasons at very different times.
Okay. I can imagine that both of them would be pretty challenging,
Yeah.
especially if you can relate to some of those and see some of your own self in them, like you said.
Yeah.
It's definitely more challenging. Okay, so green, pink, orange, or purple?
We'll go with green.
Green. All right. GREEN. And your options are 5 or 8. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna have to get my phone for this one, which is right here. But I'll read it first. So
Oh,
When We Were has glowing high star reviews on websites such as Goodreads. However, you wouldn't know that if you were just reading the comments that accompany the 5-star reviews. Some of my favorites include, I'm going to read them because I
yeah.
took them. And these are 5-star reviews. Like, I just want to preface that. This is not me being mean. These are 5-star reviews.
What do you
And
mean?
um, here's a 5-star review from Oceana. This made me feel a lot of things, but good is not one of them. Yeah, you commented on that. Same.
Yeah.
Amber's review, 5-star review. This book is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. I went over halfway in this book thinking one thing for it to emotionally slap me in the face. And you said, this review will stay with me for the rest of my life. Thank you. These are
Oh,
five.
I comment on anything I can.
This one was one of my personal favorites, and this is from Eva. And if you are sensitive to curse words, I would plug your ears. 5-star review. Fuck, what a twist. I'm so miserable after this book. 5 stars.
I think it's sadism, right? Where people enjoy the pain. Like it is so bizarre.
Many red flags are shown in this book.
So many, and also of the readers, I think. When I first wrote it, and I sent it out to like a group of beta readers, which has a whole different incredible experience. But I sent it out to this group of people, and like the responses I got from them, I was like, "This is shocking!" Like their emotional response was not what I expected, and so that has really helped. Like the emotion of it's really helped in a way that I didn't think.
Hysterical. Another 5-star. I'm just gonna read a couple more because these were just like so. And I like so many new lines on my face from reading these.
They're very funny.
I haven't looked at the reviews since I wrote a review, which was like well over a year ago. So
Yeah.
it's so fun for me to go through. I can't, if you're watching or listening to this episode, like you can comment about like, and you haven't read this book, I want to hear your thoughts on these reviews. Completely into it. Stephanie's review, 5 stars. I will be thinking about this book for the rest of my life.
Casual.
Emily's review. No one contact me. I'm going through.
Same.
And I hope I don't butcher this name. I'm going to try my best. Tanushka's review.
Tanushka.
And she has 17 notes and 20 highlights from when we were. And she said, this book is the damn definition of I want to throw my Kindle across the room, but in a good way, question mark. And that's a 5-star review. There's so many more like this on Goodreads. This one says like 5 stars, never have related to more to a book than this one. Another 5-star review that says this book gave me trust issues. There's so many amazing reviews. So my question for you, after I just read all of those, not funny 5-star reviews, but like all those without the 5-star, you'd be like, oh my God, this person like hates me. Like, no, loved the book. Question for you is, what is it like when you see those reviews? Like we touched on it a little bit earlier, but like when those reviews come in and you see them, like what is that experience like?
Yeah, so I do read them, and I know you're not supposed, like, people are like, don't read the review, like, don't get into that, but I actually do read them both because I'm a glutton for punishment, and also I think it's very important for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, reading is such an intimate thing, and like, you share so much of yourself in books that you read. Like, you give so much of yourself over the pages of a book that you read, that for someone to take that feeling and write it down for other people to know feels like something that I should also like know. And so I am constantly humbled when seeing these things and constantly amazed. And it feels so generous. Like it feels like this sounds like quite cliche, but it feels like such a gift for people to give and share that and like put that on the internet. I am constantly shocked by it.
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative of it. I love the highlights. I love seeing people's because you can go in and see people's Kindle highlights sometimes. Their Kindle highlights and their comments. I live for it. I am a stalker and like creeping on all the highlights that people are like commenting. It's amazing. So I'm very grateful. Thank you all so much.
It's so fun to read those. And
it's awesome to read them.
Go in and share like positivity about books that they love.
Yeah.
Especially when they can relate to the books. Like I just, as a reader, like I just love those connections. And then if I read a review and somebody's saying like how much they connect to the book, I'm instantly going to read it. And I wish so badly I could remember how I found your book. And I can't for the life of me remember how I found your book. And no clue. I don't know why. I just really wish I could remember like how I stumbled upon it. But anyways, maybe it was like reviews or something.
Maybe TikTok has been like the bigger thing.
Okay.
Funny enough, because like at Taylor Swift last year, my husband had like little cards made and like handed them out to people to like my wife wrote a book.
Yeah.
So that went kind of viral. And that got like a big boom. It's like that is where a lot of people heard about it and saw it.
Smart.
And also people love a trauma bond. So like once someone reads it, and particularly this book is interesting for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, but it's got a little bit of a twist for some people. Like many people don't see some of this coming and they need to talk to someone about it. And so they're like, I've just finished this book. I need you to read it. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you figure it out, let me know.
I'm going to try to figure it out. don't feel like it was I wasn't really into TikTok at the time, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out and definitely let you know.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to, like, go back in my history and see, like, what I was around that time.
Yeah. Sure.
But I'm thankful I found it. And I was reading it at the time with me, so I was like, "I'm just gonna stalk her. That's all I'm gonna do."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you did.
Okay, orange, green, or
Let's go with pink.
okay. And question 1, well, you already answered 1, so 8 is left on this one.
So,
Question
the 8 it is.
All right. I don't know if you remember this from around 2007. Did you ever read the Post Secret accounts like online? There's like a website called Post Secret where people would like send like anonymous
I know, yes. I know
posts.
exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay. So my question for you is,
Sure.
with that vibe, if you could send a Post Secret postcard to one character and when we were, who would it be and what would it say?
Oh,
Which might be like very hard to answer because you're working on book 2. I didn't think about that part.
no, that's okay. That's fine. I won't say who it's to. So am I okay, let me ask. Am I sending the postcard or is like are we sending it from like a main character to a main character?
Let's send it from a main character to another character. No, let's send it from you to a character.
Okay. This is gonna I'm like we're so torn right now.
You pick it whichever direction you want.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we'll do a I think I think Arden would send one. I think Arden would send one to the big breakup
Okay.
and would say, like I forgive you for ending it,
Mhm.
but I don't forgive you for not trying.
Yes, that's a great one.
I think that would be her thought.
That's really great. I think so too.
Um, and if I could send one to her, I would be like, just stop worrying about these fucking boys. Sorry, just stop. Like, just take a break. Like,
Breath. Yeah.
you're doing good on your own.
Yeah. Go eat a Snickers bar and you'll be fine.
You're good, babe. Like you can handle it all.
Yes. Exactly.
None of these men are determining any value for you.
Right. Which I think that is one of the reasons why it's so relatable and well written is that for a lot of girls or women and
Yeah.
college, like it felt like that. And
It felt like that. Still can, like
yes, absolutely. I'm gonna slide in an extra question since we're talking about
all
that.
the questions.
I'm just like, I'm being so selfish. I told you this.
I've got no
I warned you.
nowhere to go. I've got nowhere to go. This is a
Um,
yeah.
was the writing journey for when we were therapeutic or toxic?
I think it's fairly therapeutic.
Yeah.
2007 was so long ago in so many ways that a lot of the toxicity that perhaps could be pulled out of it, I've long since grown up from. And so I think there's a lot of therapy in that. And it talks about it. At one point it even calls out that like she ended up in therapy like most millennial women do in their 30s because in their early 20s we didn't know that that was a thing we should be doing and here we all are. So I think there are so many parts of it that are just kind of cathartic to look back on who you were at 18, 19 and like the parts of yourself that you put into the parts of myself that I put into this book or the parts of anyone's self that they give to other people that you kind of can reconcile. Yeah, let's go with therapeutic.
Therapeutic. That sounds
Yeah.
good. I like that. I feel like it would
Thanks.
be. I would imagine there's a
Yeah.
therapeutic element to it for sure. Okay, so you answered all of my paper fortune teller questions or cutie catcher, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And typically, this is when we segue straight into the fun millennial nostalgic game. But I have two little tiny questions that I'd like to ask about book 2.
Okay.
Being it big, knowing that there's a lot to be determined and all of that. So I would love to know if you can answer,
Okay.
of course, without spoilers. But where did I just get the train of thought? Oh, on a scale of 1 to dropping our Kindle, how shocking are the books going to be in book 2? And you can just really tease us with this because no one's going to remember. Maybe.
What did you say?
And then you can really just tease us with this because
I
we're all
know.
so enthralled with book 2 that we're going to forget all
No,
of it.
there's one part that had my husband like jaw agape, like just like jaw drop. And he knew the story going in. So like I stand by the fact that I don't know why he was so surprised. So there's one part that definitely like shocked him because of how it
Right.
played out. I don't know that shock. I don't know that it's the same kind of like big as much as like similar to When We Were.
Okay.
Everything is exact. It is all in front of you from the beginning.
Okay.
Like When We Were, the end is written in the beginning, and Six Morning Kisses, it is written like basically on the cover. Like it is there. It is all there. And so,
We just have
yeah.
to figure these second guessing ourselves the whole time we're reading the book. We're like, but am I looking at it through the right
Am
lens?
I?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry too much about the twist as much as just like it's just a moment that you don't see coming at that moment.
Right.
And so maybe that. Will you drop a Kindle? Maybe. I don't know. You sounds like you might. Yeah.
I just didn't see it coming at all. In book one, any of it. I think that told me that I should up my therapy sessions. No. Okay, and then I thought I just like totally okay. Here's a question because I lost my second one that I had already like previewed with you, but I don't think this is gonna be too challenging of a question. Will we see most of the characters from book one and book two?
Everyone has a presence in two, is how we're gonna say that, I think.
I love very,
Yeah.
very offended.
We can yeah, I'm good. Like I told you, there was only one the only question on it that I was gonna like outright avoid was
Yeah.
a date.
Yes. And I'm not asking you about days, but I
No,
am
no, you're doing great. Yeah.
I, I'm looking for Easter eggs behind you on your bookshelf. Like, did she put the date
I
somewhere?
blurred it.
Yeah.
No, nothing. Just a messy bookshelf.
Just I love it. One of my questions was, were you a reader before you were a writer? And I just skipped it completely when I thought your bookshelf. So I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
All
I
right.
am always a reader.
I love it. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want readers to know about either book one or book two? I wrote these questions as somebody who has devoured this book more than one time. So I'm sure my lens is a little bit different than a marketing standpoint. So anything that you want to know about book one and two before we do our fun game?
That's amazing. I'm the worst with a marketing lens, so like that I don't know if you've noticed I do very actual like the marketing I do is actually non-mar. I don't really do it. I think for me what's been important both with When We Were and what's important with Six Morning Kisses is that so much of how we talk about romance novels and happily ever afters is all about getting to the end of that happily ever after when the happily ever after itself exists more often in the middle of the book,
Yeah.
like in the middle of someone's book than it does like at the end. And so like I think for me as I'm doing this, that distinction is very important because, love stories and the happily ever afters, they don't always have to exist the way we've been taught for them to exist.
Right. Exactly. I agree. And I think that that's important because we all, when I say we, a lot of us millennials grew up with the whole like Disney princess, happy ever afters, like all of these like
100%.
formulated romantic things, and reality is not much. And so that's why I think for me, it's like a breath of fresh air to come across a book that is so,
Yeah.
real.
And like happily ever after is just whenever someone decides to end it.
Exactly.
Like what happens after that? Like truly what happens after the epilogue?
Right.
Where you've
Exactly.
checked all the boxes of married and children and all of those things. What happens?
Right.
And so
Exactly.
we get into some of that.
Yes, I can't wait to find out. And I wanted to say there was a reader question about the back of the head theory that you have.
Right.
Do you want to elaborate on that or not elaborate on
Yeah, I'm fine.
that? That in both our accounts would be
Yeah.
major spoiler alerts, so I'm going to avoid those, but they're amazing questions and questions I would love answers to. But yeah,
I mean, we can either
spoiler.
spoiler alert and keep record like I'll let you decide.
Okay.
And the back of the head theory I cannot answer without spoilers.
Okay. Got it. So we're going to put up a big spoiler alert. right here. Is it spoilers for When We Were or spoilers for Six Morning Kisses?
When We Were.
Okay. So I'm gonna put a big spoiler alert up now, and then I'm gonna ask 3 questions. This is one of them that will be spoiler alert. So if you're listening and you don't want to hear the spoilers, tune off, come back, and like, I don't know, I'll tell you in the caption when to come back if you're avoiding the spoilers. Same for if you're viewing this. I'll make sure it's in the caption so you know when to tune back in. Okay, so go ahead and explain. So
The back of the head theory. Isabella was the one who named it. So I wrote a lot of this. I wrote a lot of When We Were, and I love a parallel. I think parallels are really cool in writing and music and all types of things. And I snuck a lot of them in there in a way that I didn't think anyone would ever notice. And then we got Isabella, who definitely noticed it all. So back of the head theory, when Reed is going to meet Arden at the restaurant, he talks like he literally says he's like, I recognize her from the back of her head alone.
Yes.
Like he says that if he's walking up. He says, I recognize her from the back.
Right? And she's like,
Yeah. And she's like walking and he's like, I can't really tell it's her, but I know it's her. I'd recognize her.
yes.
Years in time, I can tell from the back of her head. The back of her head is what he says. And then when Arden walks in at home, she says something similar about her own husband where she's like, I'd recognize him anywhere. Like just from the back, like
Yeah.
I can only see the back of him, but I recognize the back of his head. And so the whole theory is kind of built around this idea that like she loves him, like she loves her husband so intently, like
Yeah.
in that way that, you know, time, whatever it is, couldn't abstract from her.
Right.
And so her love is there and Reed's love is still with her. And so it was
Yeah.
kind of this idea of like that for them is this representation of how much you love someone and like where your love is placed. And so I liked that, like the idea of recognizing someone intimately from something not intimate.
Right. Right. It's like something that you have like totally taken in.
So passive, like something so simple and like, you know, in your life, there are people like when you're, I don't know if you're like out at a grocery store, wherever, and you're like, I can tell across the way, there might be 10 dudes who are of similar build, but like, I know which one is my husband. Like, I can spot him from his step, from the back of his head, whatever it is. And so that's really what the theory is about, is that Arden is not caught in that same place that Reed is, but Reed is still very much caught in, he can recognize her by the back of her head.
I love that. That's a cool theory. That's really neat. And then somebody else asked, was there ever a point when you were writing the book that you considered the book ending with Arden and Reed?
No. Like, they were never, in that story, they were never meant to. The closest we really get is like their alternate ending, like a novel in a novel. But the two of them were never supposed to be together for so many reasons. And at the end of the day, like, he talks about how he has a cat and she has 2 dogs. And like, does she even like cats? Did he want children? Like, any of these things that would have actually been included in like their novel in a novel, who's to say that actually was the life that they'd want together, you know, or could have together? And, you know, we have to remember, like, he was older than she was. Like now we're in spoilers, and we're just going to talk spoilers. Like, he was older than she was, and 18 to, in your, you know, 19 to 22 or 23, like, that's substantial. Like, more substantial than we want to acknowledge at the time. And so truly, what was going to happen? They had one fight and they couldn't keep it together.
Right.
Could they have actually ended up together? I don't know.
And talk about miscommunication.
Miscommunication.
Yeah.
Right. And the other part of it is, I think that's important to recall, is like, I do think this is I do think this counts as second chance romance because they have had all their chances. They could have absolutely shown up to that table, been kind of toxic, decided that this is the love of their life and run off together.
Yes.
And they also kept in touch for like 13, 14 years, 15 years. Like, they could have absolutely ended up together if they wanted to end up together, or if it was right.
Right.
And they didn't. And so what? Like, for a reason, you know? And so there was never a version of this story fully that ended up with them together.
Got it. I love that. I thought that would be your answer personally, but that is a good explanation as to why. Okay. So how related to the spoiler piece,
let's get into spoilers.
how many percentage of your readers, I'm curious, like, do they
know
to you that there's shocked about it not being Josh? Like, did they think that it was Josh he was talking to and meeting up with at the restaurant and discussing this whole time, and then to be shocked that it was Reed because I was one of them, and then I was like, "Holy shit, I need
So
therapy."
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I haven't done this survey. I've like polled lightly. Like
Yeah,
I did polls when I first did the beta read, and I did polls, which I didn't do a beta read the normal way. I just kind of like dumped it to a bunch of people and like surveyed them and like did analysis on that. And then I've put up like polls on actual Instagram,
right.
and the numbers always land around like 60% in favor of Josh. Like people go into it thinking it's Josh,
Yeah,
leaning 60. I think there there's one part for me. If someone is Team Josh after she gets sick, like after he takes care of her when she's sick, if they're still on that train, they're riding it all the way to the station.
yeah,
That is,
you're
they
committed.
are com-
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
committed. They're like they're friends to lovers, and it's gonna work out.
yes.
And they're like, Reed is just another person who's like gonna be
If
like
you
one
are
of her like
committed,
he's getting in the way, and he's gonna have a big like Josh is gonna have a big love proclamation. It'll all work out.
yes,
Now, obviously, that's not what happened, but if people pass that point where he takes care of her when she's sick, they're pretty much on board for him. If they see the red flags leading up to it and they're like, "This is annoying," then they go into it knowing better. But if you go back and read it, like it's
oh, yeah.
all there.
The
Like
second time reading it, I'm like, "How did I even
you're like, "How did I miss it?" Yeah,
how did I even, like, go that direction?" But once you're, like, in the avenue, like, you're
yeah.
kinda, like, in it until you figure out when
Mhm.
it's revealed. I could totally now when rereading it, every time I reread it, I'm like, "How did I go there?" Like, how yeah, it was so obvious, but, like,
Because
really not
he was so immature for so many things, and like you think this is because he loves her, and like
right,
he said he did, like maybe that's true.
right.
And when I say that's true, like obviously there's context there, but you know, he you expect best friends to lovers. You say best friends to lovers. This is what it is because we use the excuse of a happily ever after to justify all bad behavior in the meantime,
Yes, yeah,
and
absolutely.
and that's what people think they're gonna get. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just I keep using the word. I feel like this would be the shot word, is the relatable. It's
yeah,
just very relatable. And, I wanna know, like, audience members who are listening and watching who have read the book, like, who were you thinking and it's okay if you put the spoilers in the comments, people aren't gonna really understand.
yeah.
Like, were you team Reed or were you team Josh? Because like, I'm dying to know, just like a poll of people who watched the episode, who read when we were like, what the first time that you read
Yeah.
them, were you
You
thinking
can't.
as Josh or were you thinking it was Reed when she's communicating in the present time with somebody? I'm dying.
It's a fun. It's fun. This is actually one of the topics I could talk about a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, because the red flags of it all, they're there from the beginning, like
Mm.
from the jump.
There's no denying. And I think that that's the part of why the reviews are the way the reviews are because we all, after we reread it, see them and we're like, I'm questioning
I mean, like, and it is too relatable. Like, if we actually talk about, what gets really like terribly messy and tragic in a
it.
different way at the end between them, like in the author's note, I talk a lot about the fact that like consent didn't exist the same way in the early
Right.
2000s. Like, notion of too drunk to consent wasn't a thing that was ever taught or talked about, and so like truly, I think it's not until that point that some people aren't really taken out of it, where you're like, holy shit, like this is a bad situation. And unfortunately, that is something that has been too relatable for too many people
Yeah.
and too relatable even in the messages I get, right? Like those are the messages I get so often where they're like, this has really provided me closure around situations that I was not recognizing for maybe what they were. So yeah, they're very complex people, and like it'd be very easy to say he's fully the villain in all things, but like if we had ever gotten a Josh point of view in that novel, I don't think he would have seen it the same way. Like he very much he wasn't he wasn't mad when she left. He was hurt. Like he
Yeah.
was hurt and confused. So, you know,
Yes. There's
there
just
we all need so much therapy for so many reasons.
everyone needs therapy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I come from a mental health profession and we all need it and I need it
Yeah.
and we can't get so yeah, I think that all of those, I could talk about the red flags and all the little signs and how, like, I could even give you explanations to each one and why I thought this and that, and, like, I don't know. But, like, everyone's gonna unpack that differently, and I think that that's another beautiful piece of it is that, like, cool, Jordan, like, that's how you unpack it, like, everyone's gonna have their
Yeah.
own how they unpacked it or how they go one way because of their own experiences, and so
Yeah.
it's cool when a book can be so
Thank you.
personalized or
Yeah.
yeah, like individualized
Yeah.
person. Yeah, that's always exciting.
Brilliant.
So with that and those
Yeah.
kinds of colors, you get to pick a nostalgic millennial game with a twist. I don't know what this part tonight, but your options are Mash, Truth or Dare, Never Have I Ever, or Two Truth.
Okay. Well, they play Never Have I Ever in the books. I think we have to do Never Have I
Yeah.
Ever.
I was thinking you're gonna pick that one because of that. All right, so the way we'll play it is only with 3 fingers because it can go back and forth for quite some time.
Yes.
And then we kind of keep it bookish, but like it's loose. So like
Like, I'm very bad at this game. Like, I actually don't know that I've ever played it, but like, I think I don't actually.
where this goes on back and forth for like a very long time. So like we're gonna do 3 fingers. So if you have never played Never Have I Ever, the characters in When We Were Do, as Diana just mentioned, so yay. But also it's usually played like with a group of friends and you ask them what, like,
Yeah.
I will ask Diana to truth or dare. And if she says truth, I'm gonna ask her a question that she has to tell the truth to, and I won't be bad. And then if she chooses dare, I'm gonna think of like a bookish dare for her, like something silly that obviously she doesn't really do either.
Is this how you Never Have I Ever?
I'm playing truth or dare. Oh my god, I'm so
Well,
always.
I'm gonna say, is this how you? I mean, we could play Truth or Dare because honestly, I get.
No, we're talking two totally different things, and still never have I. Oh my god.
I was like, is that how you Never Have I Ever? Because I
No.
definitely.
And I just shifted from the 3 finger for the Never Have I Ever to Truth or Dare so fast. That was pretty scary.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I was convinced. No, I think you should leave it in. I was convinced you knew a different version of Never Have I Ever than I did. I'm just like,
oh, this is the cool way of doing Never Have I
yeah,
Ever.
I said, all right.
Yeah.
We could play.
So Never Have I Ever is opposite, or not at all what I just said. So if you are not familiar, don't play it that way. Never Have I Ever is usually with 5 fingers. Usually drinks are included, which you would think I'd have too many drinks if I just described it. And you would go around the group, and usually what you're trying to do is call people out, essentially, like on things that you know that they've done that you've never done. And so the point of it is that you won't be the first, or you'll have fingers remaining up and get everyone out by putting their fingers down. So for example, if I said to Diana, like, never have I ever written a RomTraum book, she'd have to put a finger down and I would have a finger up because I've never done it. She has. And so the goal is for me to get all of Diana's fingers down. That's the correct way to play Never Have I Ever.
That is Never Have I Ever, not Truth or Dare.
Then not Truth or Dare version of Never Have I Ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is actually how we're going to play it, is the correct way. And we'll try to keep it like a bookish twist, but it can be challenging to do. So
Yeah. We're going to see.
we'll see where it takes us. We have a lot in common-ish just based off of like life experience age-wise, like the whole, so we'll see where it takes us. So you're my guest. You get to choose. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Well, I'm going to say this one and I really hope it's true, but never have I ever made a stranger cry.
Oh, no, that's incredibly true. That happens often now. That's like a new thing.
You should put that in your bio too. Makes you cry.
That's correct. So yeah.
You wouldn't
Okay,
be
never.
RomTraum without it.
You right. I love someone named Paige on like another like book talker, Instagram page. Like use the term RomTraum and like I'm like this is I love it so much. This is it. Okay.
And I saw you share that and I was like, oh my God, she is.
That's it.
That's going to be my new favorite like genre. It's RomTraum. Yeah.
It's my new favorite genre. I'm gonna I should really make like merch.
Yeah. Yeah. Own it.
Should okay. I'm just making I'm playing based on what I know I haven't done. I have no idea if you actually have.
That's probably right.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, right. I like to be a little more strategic typically. So like normally I'm playing I haven't played in a long time, but typically playing you like target things.
Yes,
So
like,
you know,
your fingers down, yeah.
like, if you've read this book, you also recognize. Okay, I won't say never ever, but I'll say like in the last 2 years, never have I ever DNF'd a book.
And that book, I actually will most likely circle back to the book that I
There's
DNF.
no judgment. I think people should be DNFing books. It is a compulsion.
Actually, mood reader just depends on my mood. So it's like if it's
Respectable.
aching in that moment, I know that one day it is gonna strike me, but I will.
That's a no. That's a much healthier relationship to have with things than the one I have, where I will start reading a book and I am overcommitted to it, and I am not necessarily always enjoying it, and I'm like, I gotta see where it goes. The way I like to think about it, I like that we're like just holding up these fingers. The way I like to think about it is that sometimes the ending can be so great that like maybe whatever I'm not liking in the middle delivers.
Right.
It's not really happened for me in the way I'd always hope it to, but you know,
Right. Exactly.
that's my hope. And I've read some things like that. That's how I get stuck into, you know.
Sometimes, like, there's books where, like, maybe you would DNF and then you get going and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't
So
DNF.
glad I didn't.
It's amazing. Yeah. So I mean, like, it can go both ways a
Yeah,
little
absolutely.
bit. Okay. I don't know anything about your like reading, like and what you like to read, so I'm gonna totally guess.
Yeah.
Never have I ever read a fantasy book.
Oh no, we crush those. I'm reading fantasy all the time.
Dang it. Did not get
Sorry.
it. Okay, got it. I don't know your reading preferences, so I'm learning.
And I've blurred the bookshelf.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, what's
Can't
behind
even
it?
No, I mean particularly like I love a good romantasy
Yeah.
novel, as so many people do.
Yes.
I have often said like I've never read a book that I fully regretted, which is
Right.
true. Like I feel like you always learn
Yeah.
something from them, like even if just you learn what not to read next time.
Yeah.
But I love a fantasy. I love a fantasy novel. Might have been my first love. Okay. See, I feel like this is a very easy one for me to like knock out.
That's fine. I did it to the first one.
But oh actually no, I'd knock myself out also. Do I take the hit and just hope that you don't get the
I
next?
think it's worth it. Yeah.
It's worth it. I will do that because I can't think of another one, and this was the one I had prepared.
Okay.
Never have I ever DM'd an author.
100%. Yeah. You and others, but one with it was pretty intense when I was DMing you. And I continue to DM you frequently.
I'm so glad.
But yeah, that is. And it's always positive. I do want to preface that. Never ever slide into an author's inbox negative anything. Always.
It's wild. Someone once sent me the most insane message, and it was like, speaking of I think it was Bravo.
Oh God.
It wasn't. Hang on. It wasn't Bravo. It was like, but it was a reality show, and like this is gonna sound insane. You can cut this if you want, but like, do you remember the clip of what was her name? New York, whatever her name is, Pollard, Tiffany Pollard of New, like I love New York. She's like, someone lied to her several times. Someone wrote that to me in a message, and they said that someone lied to me several times and said that my book was good and something, and it was like the whole Tiffany Pollard bit. I started reading it, and I was aghast. I could not believe it. I was like both hysterically laughing and horrified that someone had the audacity to send that. But the level of insult was insanely like good. Like it was so good that I couldn't help it. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that was wild. That was a wild moment.
I'm like, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm healthy with the way that I DM'd you during when we were, but like, do it with like a good intent. Come on, now,
I think good intent is the thing. There was no good intent there.
Yeah. No.
I did laugh.
What am I gonna do? Never have I ever. I don't think I'm playing dirty with this one, but if I am, you can say it's yeah. Never have I ever written an actual event that happened to me in a book. I won.
You did win. You definitely did win.
You don't have to tell me which event because that would be
No, that's fine.
yeah.
That's not even where I was going. I was just thinking like my strategy for never have I ever has definitely wavered. Like
You took it.
I took the hit. I thought,
Well, it's because being dust off our never have I ever skill. I mean, clearly I didn't even give the right directions on it. So
you pivoted right to truth or dare. No, I think
It's been years for me, at least. I can't.
years. Years. Yeah, I'm much more of a board game girl
Yeah,
now. So, eh,
exactly. Well, that was so fun. I'm like actually very sad that this is about to end because I have been so looking forward to this interview for like ever. And so I'm so thankful that you came on to chat with
thanks.
the audience, tell us about when we were, the little bits of hints that we got about Six Morning Kisses. So appreciative. I hope that you will come back when Six Morning Kisses releases.
I think I should definitely come back this year. I think that should be the plan.
Yeah, that is exciting. I love that. And I cannot wait for everyone to watch this episode or listen to it. Let us know if you run and check out. I love when the audience reaches out to me and lets me know they read a book that was on here. So please, please, please let us know. Um, and share your comments with us so that we can see them. And make sure to follow Diana. I'm going to link all of Diana's contacts in the caption so that you can find the book. Not all
Just like my social security number,
this
my
is
home address.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like link
Yeah, yeah.
where you can find the book, when we work, where you can follow Diana Elliott Graham on Instagram and her socials so that you can too be in the know when it comes to when two is released. So make sure to check out the captions with Diana. And thank you again so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you for having this was great.
I hope that the questions were
Perfect.
invasive.
No, we're gonna stop recording and I'll tell you all the secrets now.
Yeah,
Like
and we're
that's
stop right now. All right. Thank you again.
All right, book besties, that's a wrap on this totally rad episode of She's All Books. If you're digging this vibe, don't be a square. Smash that subscribe button faster than you can say as if. Want to keep the convo going? Hit me up on social media at She's All Books. Drop a comment, share your fave book, or tell me what you want to hear next. I'm all ears. And hey, if you thought this episode was all that, spread the word. Tell your besties, your mom, even that cute barista at the local coffee shop. The more, the merrier. Stay tuned for the next episode, dropping Mondays at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a blast. Until then, keep it real and keep on reading. See ya!